Morning, morning, morning. Give it a few more seconds so we can get started. Oh, excuse me. Yeah, a little bit better. He's out of hospital, Anne-Marie. They were going to go on leave, but they thought just rather delay the leave and go to a later stage, just while it recuperates. But he's back at home. That's the main thing. Yeah. Morning, morning. Okay, let's get started. Okay, before we do a quick review of yesterday's stuff, I think I might have missed this ship actually. I wanted to look at a trade on this one here. It's 32.8, just around about the 200. But I think that ship might have sailed. But that's why I wanted to sell it at 32.8. So we can keep an eye on that coming up. But I think it's going to pull back. So I have to say, rather get a better price. So that was my idea to start off the trading today. But unfortunately, that's the price I want to get into. And did get 32.8 at one stage, literally about an hour or so ago. And I hoped it was going to hover there. And then we looked for short in it, but now that's going to sell. Pretty about that. Anyway. Okay, what's the big news at the moment on the macroeconomic aspect? I think we all know that anyway, nothing particularly complicated. Debt ceiling, US. Okay, you've probably heard that Fitch, I think it is, issued a sort of a warning that it could be not quite junk bond status, but it could be lower the credit rating status of the United States because of this problem we got at the moment, which is going to be, which will affect worldwide. What's going to happen there? I do not see any way around where they cannot default on the debts. They're going to have to raise the ceiling and borrow more money. It's the only way around it. It's actually, it's unfair when you think about it. If you get into debt, you're in trouble. They foreclose. That's it. If you're big enough, they just prop you up all the time because they can't afford to let you go under. So they can more or less do what they want. It might be unfair, but it's just the way it is. So I just have to wait. I think it's the 1st of June, but that might be postponed. I don't know. But they're still fighting, and where they're trying to, from a Republican point of view, saying, yeah, we can, lift the debt ceiling. We can't just lift it, and borrow. There's got to be some curtailing on all these ridiculously expensive programs. And you've got to start making a bit of money, not just sort of like spending it, basically, which is a lot more fun, I suppose. But when that does happen, which I'm pretty sure it will do, I think we're going to have a fall off on the US dollar. It's very overrated at the moment. I think it's poised for sort of a big pullback. So we shall see what happens. It's going to be a bit iffy over the next few days up to the end of the month to see what's going to happen following that. So just bear that in mind. So if you see the markets behaving rather strangely, believe me, you're not the only ones. It's the traders that are very much, as you can see, jumping around in no particular direction because of those reasons. So yeah, when it occurs, which I'm pretty sure it will do, as in raise the ceiling, then I think we're going to have a bit of a fall off on the dollar, fall off on the yields, the treasury bills, which is the shorter term interest rate bond will start to start to regain some value, which means the yields will start coming off, which means gold will be set to go up again. So it's very aggressive to look at gold as a purchase around these areas. But if you have enough money and you can afford a basic and aggressive punt trade, you can be looking at getting gold at early stages. Because I think at that stage it will take off quite radically. But again, as you all know in this business, there's no guarantees. Stranger things have happened. Thank you, Pete. Stranger things have happened. We'll come to those in a minute, Roy, and Marnie and Gerard. Stranger things have happened, but yes. So my take is this: it will be raised. When that happens, the dollar will fall off, and I think probably a bit of negativity coming on the indices and the shares, but we shall see. But the gold should be shooting up. I think we will be looking at that. But it's very aggressive to advise a trade at the moment. The dollar yen and things like that, very, very high levels. I think that's going to come off. I think the yen is probably the better currency of the two at the moment. It's just elevated highs and the fear. And I think it'll lose its ultra safe haven approach and go back to yen, Swiss franc, and gold as before. So keep a good eye on gold to go up, and dollar yen to come off. Okay, that's my take at the moment. But just give an overall appraisal. Okay, before we go recap, I just want to look at the trades being done. Okay, Marnie and Gerard are looking at the same thing, so that's interesting. Let's have a look. That is interesting. So there must be a reason behind that. Euro CHF. We've got the daily. Let's crunch it a bit. Right, I'm presuming a sell is correct. Yep. Yeah. The euro's been given some jip lately, hasn't it? I think it's still the euro a little bit. We all know about the Swiss franc and my belief in that one. I think the euro at the moment is pretty undersold, oversold, I should say, undervalued, one thing to say. Yes, right down on the resistance. It's clearly in the sell zone. I'm not sure the euro is a little bit undervalued. I think I agree with the sell, but I think I prefer to sell around about the 10-day moving average. I'm a little bit nervous at this level here. It tried it 2 or 3 days ago, as you can see from the wick. What are we now on? Thursday, Wednesday, Tuesday. What's it now? That's Monday, isn't it? Thursday, Wednesday, Tuesday. Yeah, Monday. The buyers came in, you can see from the wick, defend it. Indecision the next day, tried to pop up, sellers came in. Now, will it continue in the other direction? I hear what you're saying. I'm just feeling I'm a little bit nervous. I think the 97 could hold. I think it could bounce up again. Maybe a short-term range trade and get back to at least there, maybe a little bit higher, around these levels, something like that. It's only 20, 30 pips away. Maybe sell it down. If it comes back here and starts to bounce, you don't make much of a profit, but at least you made some. I think I'll be a bit nervous about this one. Don't get me wrong, guys, Marnie and company, Gerard and Farney, I'm a bit nervous overall anyway, and I'm not the only one. There's experienced traders out there are very nervous. And believe me, the guys who've been doing it for a while are very nervous. You should be pretty nervous as well. Sorry, the flu's getting better, but I'm still a bit throaty. I've got the cough mixture, but otherwise I'm fine. Just excuse the gravelly voice. Okay, so just be pretty wary is going on. I still say we're doing pretty well, considering you might think you look at your bank account, but considering what's been going on out there, I don't think we're doing as badly as a lot of guys are doing out there, because there's completely insecurity that's going with a lack of direction at the moment. So well, if you work when at the 10-day moving average, that's different. You say, well, but they're selling it. You didn't mention you're already in. Well, that's fine. If you went in like I mentioned there, yeah, that's fine. But I'd be a little bit careful of it. If you're 25 pips in profit, I can't say go and take it. You might be right. It comes off third. That would be a wise thing to say. But I think be circumspect. Get your stop down to your entry there. Get your stop down there. It might bounce up again for another move down. Maybe range trading, Gerard and Marnie. You know what I mean by that. You're experienced enough. But I'd get your stop down there. It could jump up, etc. And even if it does start jumping up, I get a bit nervous of it. Maybe just take even if it's 15, 20 pips, better than a kick on the shin. You know what I mean? Better than doing the washing up, as they say. but be a little bit careful. Yeah, it could do. I'm not saying it didn't. And we go back to the monthly, you'll probably find lower levels, but what's going to drive it down to these levels here, the weekly, is the Swiss franc that strong? Is the euro that weak? I'm not sure about that. I believe in the Swiss franc, but not sure the euro is that weak. It could happen, but I'm not comfortable saying that. I personally, from specifically Gerard's point of view, you got in that 10-day moving arm, that's fine. I protect that. Don't lose on it, in other words, what I'm saying. Okay, that might be a point as well. But anyway, at least you're protected that level. So at least protect yourself. And if it goes down further, well, that's all right. So it's either you don't make anything or you win something. It's not a question of losing. Take that out of the equation. Best I can mention on that. Okay. Right, we'll go back to the. You'll go back to that. So that. You agree, I'm a bit nervous getting in there. Yeah. Okay, somebody mentioned something else there I want to look at. Give me a moment. AUD NZD. Nothing else to look at. No, that's right. AUD NZD. Oh, that's right. We've got a trade out now. I was going to go through those at the moment. Jumping around a bit. Yeah, what do we get the trade out for on? 05. Some guys got a little bit better price. 20. It's hovering around a bit, sort of the 1 hour. Yeah, indecision right the way along. So you got your stop in. Hope it's going to hold there. Hope it'll come off. Not much else to say about that. Do I still think it's a short? Yes, I do. If you're not in it, I still think you could go for it at a better price. I'm not against going for it at this level. I'm a bit wary than I normally would be, but I'm still happy for a bit of a downside on this one. If you're not in it, if you are in it, stick with it. You're protected with your stop. Hopefully you've learned enough in the trading room that you protect yourself with a risk calculator and let it do its thing. That's the best I can offer on that one, Cecil. Okay. GBP, JPY. Well, I don't know about you guys. My immediate look at that within less than a second, and Cananello. Okay, fine, Cecil, good stuff. Cananello, my immediate, just looked at it in a second, I'd say leave alone, total decision. I wouldn't touch it. You see, you've given me no other information. You might already be in it. You might have longed it. You might have shorted it. You might look at a potential one. You might be wanting to go in a different price. I don't know. All you said is GBP, JPY. So I have to make the assumption you're looking at a potential trade. You haven't given me a direction. I'm saying I would leave that alone. Look at those previous candles. You should be saying by looking at those candles, don't mind all the other fancy indicators, all the other fancy stuff. You're looking immediately what the buyers and sellers are doing, and the buyers and sellers have no idea. Simple as that. Nothing more fancy, any economic jargon coming out there, no idea. That's total indecision. If it comes down, you can see it pops up. If it goes up, the sellers come in. It's total indecision. If you're not in it, leave it alone. If you are in it, I know which way you're going, and just keep your fingers crossed. If you bought or sold it, keep your fingers crossed. It's in the buy zone, could easily come off again. I think the pound is overvalued. I think the Japanese yen is undervalued. I personally see some downside here. Simple as that. Okay. I don't say it's a trade idea, not at all. But just keeping the decision last few days and might continue on for next year. I do not know. But if I had a gun against my head and said you've got to do one way or the other, you've got no choice, I expect a bit of a pullback, but that's not a trade idea, far from it. Okay, leave it alone, yeah. I think the Swiss franc is still much stronger than the dollar. The dollar just for fundamental areas out there, jumped up a little bit, but it's holding around those areas there. I think anything coming through that brings a debt ceiling, the dollar's going to come off, and you should hit the TP on it. All I can say on the moment with the US dollar Swiss franc is, if you're in it, hold. You got your stop loss protecting. If you're not in it, I say it's a trade. If you're not in it now, I would be happy to go in. I'll sell it. Yeah. So if you're not in, you get a better price. If you are in, hold on. Simple as that. Okay. Hope that's what you're looking for. What's your question? I hope it was answered. If I'm missing the point, please tell me. Okay. Oh, okay, right. We'll do that first before we get to the cable. Right, we'll use the same figures. Let's see if they work. I've got a round figure of 91, so I might as well stick to that for the stop loss. And 887 still on. See, if you use the same, you can even put a wider stop if you want, because I'm using the original stop. That's why again, this is a massively good reward. If you want to use the same figures, you can. If you want a wider stop, you can. Maybe you want to put it up here. Is it Herrad? Do you want to put a slightly wider stop? I've used the original one. Do you want to put the stop slightly above this guy here? Back in April, about 6-7 weeks ago. Hold it, Marnie. Yeah. Do you want to leave the same stop as a signal, or do you want a wider stop? You can even put the stop above the 100 if you want. You still get a risk reward. What do you want me to do? Same is fine. Okay, well, there you are. Then. There's the figures. $100 a month. Straightforward. But if that debt ceiling is released, we should get a pullback of $1, and that should come down quite a bit. It's just artificially up there in the front moment, in my opinion. Okay. No, the stop nowhere near 100 pips away. You can see it. It's 45 pips away. Where it is now, not the original signal. Clearly, I've never got a 45 pip original. Not never. That's for aggressive short-term trades sometimes, but not that often. But no, it's only 45 pips away. 100 rand a micro is the risk. Okay, should we move on? Okay, let's look at a couple of the other trades. The GBP CHF. Start off with that one. Okay, it's been bouncing around just below the 1.12 mark. Threatened went up a bit actually, and then it came off again. It seems to be hovering around a bit again in decision. At least it's in profit, about 50 pips in profit. So as I say, I've already done that. I think I put it slightly better. I'm quite sure, I can't remember. Yeah, it's mine is slightly below entry to protect, so I won't lose on that trade, but it's not going to make much money if it does. So I'm just leaving it there. So if you got in the original signal, suggest you modify your stop to protect yourself and see if we can get the TP with it. Okay, so that's not being too bad. What else got? CAD CHF, that's been hovering around from blue to red all day yesterday. Starting to get going in the blue, and then it popped up in the red, and it got all over the place. But yeah, it's slightly in the negative by 5 pips at the moment. Just quick check on my trade levels there. Yeah, it's right. I got a slightly better price. Beg your pardon. I got 66. Maybe joined it there. I don't know. That's okay. But anyway, whatever. The point is, it's hovering around the entry mark. I'll show you what I mean. I think you probably know anyway. So it's popping up, popping down. A few bars coming up. It's hovering. So let it run. If you're not in it, you want to join it, you get a better price. I like it. So if you're not in it, you want to join it, use the same figures as the signal and join it. If you're already on board, just stick with it. That's my opinion on that one. What else we got out there? We didn't send out the signal, but some guy, the trader, might have taken it. AVJPY. That was sell at 91.10. This is purely a trading room, guys. It won't sell to anywhere else. That's been hovering. We'll get too excited. It's now about 10, 11 pips in profit, but that's what it is at the moment. It seems to be range trading between about about a 20 pip range, 25 pip range, 20 pip range, something like that, hovering around. If you're in it, let it run. It's a bit quick to move your stoppers yet. It's only 10 pips in profit, but let it run. Okay. AUD NZD, we discussed that just now. Slightly the downside, but again, hovering around, stick with it. If you're not in it, I quite like it, you can join it. Dollar Swiss franc, we've already done. Okay, so that's basically what we got out at the moment. They're okay, put it that way. Okay, that's about it. Let's want a quick check of the NAS. The NAS is jumping all over the place. Look at that, jumping all over the place. We're on the 1 hour, go back to daily. You see what I mean? It went up there, came right down here yesterday, and then decided to jump up again, all on debt ceiling. So don't get cute with it, leave it alone. Gold, I mentioned, that's a high punt, but I think there's a potential upside here. But I think it's just very, very dangerous unless you can afford it. Take a risk. If your balance not that high, rather conserve your balance. You've got a decent balance and you've had a couple of good runs. Maybe put a couple of bucks on this one as a buy, and hoping when the news comes out, it's going to be good for the gold, and we can get a back up above 2,000 again, which, in my opinion, is going to be the way forward. I see gold back up to 2,000, even to 1 and above going forward. Remember, over aeons, gold has held its value. It's always a fiat currency that decreases. This holds its value. So, yeah, it just takes more dollars to buy it. So overall, yeah, it's going to go back above 2-1 some stage in the future, but don't play around the short term if your balance is a bit on the low side, because you can easily come back a bit in the movements before it goes up again. That's why it's always wise, if you can afford it, to have a decent sum to play with. But no good having money if you don't know what you're doing. Blow more money than if you didn't, than if you had a smaller account. If you know what you're doing, it means you can take longer term positions and you can diversify a bit more. That's why it's called capitalism. That's why the guy with $1 million starting a business has got more chance than the guy with 10 grand starting a business, because they get better equipment, better staff, better everything. Clearly obvious. Some people forget that, because they get so wrapped up in what they want to achieve without realizing what they've got to give to get that result. And unfortunately, if you haven't got the knowledge, it's going to battle, but you haven't got the capital, even the knowledge, it's always going to be a bit of a struggle. But that means, mate, you've got to deal with the cards you're dealt. So that's fair enough. There's no problem with that. But don't expect, if you play poker, to get the same results on a pair of aces you would on a royal flush, clearly. But some people do, and that's why I'm trying to help them not to think that way. All right, NZD, USD. Keep an eye on it, but I see upside. ETH trends see a bit of upside, actually. But yeah, if you want to do that trade, it's highly aggressive, but I see upside. Okay. We'll discuss it further if you let me know, and I'll go to more stuff later on if you want. If not, leave it. Now, you just mentioned for a sell there, clear the sell zone. Let's look at the EGS quickly. Might be for the EGS, there you are. Might be a sell on the EGS there. So EGS is a sell. Yep, check how far away, to make sure. Yes, 10 pips away. So yeah, so EGS looks like a sell. But going back to the normal one, it seems to be last hour, which is 8 till 9. Bit of indecision. 4 hour. Every time it's gone up, the sellers have come in. Okay. My main worry with this is not just a technical area of that support level, it's the dollar. I think the dollar per se is overvalued. The New Zealand dollar clearly is weak at the moment because they didn't take steps in the economy that they expected to take whenever the figures released a couple of days ago, hence a sudden weakening of the NZ dollar. I think that some people might do some profit taking on the NZD to push it up a bit, and I personally think the dollar's valued on the what you would call it, on the debt ceiling. And if that comes to the party, that dollar could weaken a bit, and that makes the New Zealand dollar jump a bit. I'd be very nervous to join it here on the normal, but for the EJS, you could look at it on that aspect. Okay, that's what I think of it. Yeah, like I mentioned, it's a debt ceiling, like I mentioned. Okay, if you want to look at it on the EJS, you can, but the normal one, I'd be a little bit careful. No, the dollar is just artificially high, like I mentioned. Are you with me on that? Is anyone not clear what I'm talking about on the dollar and the debt ceiling? Not, I can sort of clarify a bit more. Maybe I speak too quickly. Just want to make sure we're all, because I do rattle away a bit, we're all understanding what I'm saying, because otherwise, you've got me on that. Yeah, the dollar is going to, if that debt ceiling is going to come off, simple as that. And already they're getting nervous about 104, so be careful of that dollar strength. Be very careful. Okay, now there's the debt ceiling. I think it's around about 31 trillion, whatever. They need to borrow more money to pay their bills. As simple as that. You know, in your private life, you've got to borrow money to get through the month, sort of thing, because at the end of each month, all the money's going out. So you're on, let's say, 100K a month. Hey, yeah, that guy's doing all right. Why are you so stressed? Because your debt's so huge. And then at the end of the month, 100K goes in, and half an hour later, you've got a couple of K left. It's all gone out again. And then suddenly you got the month ahead of you. So the bills have got to be paid. And they've got massive, massive bureaucratic bills to pay. Okay, Harold, you understand? It's the CIA, the FBI, the welfare, the police, all these looking after the immigrants, and shame these poor chaps or whatever. But the point is, a lot of them put up in it costs money. What do you call that place? What do you call that housing thing? I forgot the name of it now. They're spending an enormous amount of money and putting them up in areas to look after them, and then the border control and all that sort of thing. These are all outward goings, and they got massive, basically outgoings. Now, to regain the votes, like I say, Biden is not backing down on more spending, and the Republican McCarthy is the sort of leader of the House, Speaker of the House, saying, yeah, we're prepared to go for it because they're now the majority in the House. Do it, but you need to pull back your spending. As simple as that. No more than that, Mike. I mean, you're my son now, Mike. I like you. You're my son, Mike. I like you, and I don't mind increasing the allowance, but you've got to start spending more useful things, not just on wine, women, and song. You know what I mean? You've got to be a little bit more responsible in how you're spending it. That's all I'm asking. And Mike says, no, sod you. Yeah, just give me more money. I like going out and blowing my money on sex and drugs and rock and roll. And I said, well, no, hang on. You can do it for your own money, but it's not your money, Mike. You get the idea. Maybe I'm over ridiculously simplifying it, but that's the bottom line. They're trying to get some sort of, instead of trying to chase after simple voters who haven't a clue, basically, most of them, they're trying to get some sort of economic responsibility into them. And it's rather look after their own political career and do these sort of things anyway. So the bottom line is they're going to raise that ceiling, otherwise the knock-on effect's going to be hectic because they can't pay their bills. We've got a problem, the world has, you know. And so there's a bit of a safe haven for the dollar result of it. If that comes about where they will do that, then the dollar will go back to normal, money will go back to gold, Swiss franc, the more stable currencies, and to a certain extent the Japanese yen. And that, I think, we'll come back to 103, 102, back to 101, maybe even 100 to see what goes forward, etc. Yeah, but they've got a very unpopular president. It's a complete knowledge that Shane's a nice guy. Our age comes to us all, as we all know, myself as well. But some people are very, very alert at 90 and 80, and some people are less alert. You know what I'm saying? It's one of those things, not plainly open. But he's not up to it. He's just simply he's not up to it. He's basically a token put there by the swamp. They put the money up to get him there, and now he's got to do their bidding. They cut the deal with it. And he's been manipulated, unfortunately, by extremely wealthy people. Makes me laugh that they're Democrats, considering contradiction in terms. That's another story. But anyway, so it's going more and more with left-wing policies, and there's not me being left-wing or right-wing. It's I'm talking about purely economic wing, if you like. The left-wing policies have been shown the world over are all very nice, but they're not very good at making money to pay for them. And that's quite simple and straightforward, and it's been proven. I don't see many socialist countries where a good, decent backup of some sort of capitalistic practice have been economic successful. It's a fact. Look at to all the communist and socialist countries. It's a fact. And don't quote Sweden. That's falling apart now as well because of the over-the-top socialist policies. It doesn't work, and as a result of it, Yeah. So I think the dollar will start to weaken, and certainly by the end of the month, and then I think we'll get some movement going on that basis. Okay. No, that's I didn't want to mention that here. I hope guys aren't in that. That's going to be opening disaster. If the guys are in that, I'm afraid you might even get slippage. I didn't want to mention that because more bad news thrown at you. But yeah, we've got some negative on the video expectations, and so that's the ideal thing. Might be a sell on it. It opened down, so a lot of guys didn't take it. Hope they didn't take it in the end because it opened way below the actual entry level. The problem is, I think some guys had a sell limit in, and it closed okay, but I'm pretty sure it's going to open around about the 370 mark. I hate to say it, which means you're going to get slippage. I don't want to bring that up, but that could be hectic. You understand what I'm saying? It's no good saying, well, at this stop at 320. Well, if there's no buyers to sell at that level, you won't get out. Remember, stop or a TP is purely an opportunity to buy or sell. You know what I'm saying? I'm putting out there, I'm selling my house for £1 million. There's no takers at that price. I only get takers at 900 grand. Well, it's no good saying, well, I put my stop at 100 grand. No, there's no buyers or sellers. It's now 900. You've got no choice in the matter. So I think if you're in that, it's going to open up higher and you're going to get slippage. Just understand what I'm talking about there. Your stop loss is purely a buy or sell order. There's no buyers or sellers at that level. Forget it, you know. And it opens up above your stop loss, and that's when you'll be looking to get out at. So yeah, a lot of guys said I missed it and left it. That's why it's so imperative to read the signal and not just jump in on it. If it's a shipper sells, that's it. That's why I'm not all that keen on pending orders. So many things can change, but it's not easy. I know if you've got other stuff to do. I'm in front of my computer a lot, but or a lot all day basically. But if you haven't, the other stuff's not different. But the trouble with the pending order, you might say, let's buy gold at 1940, but the situation might have changed by the time it gets there, where it could plummet to 1900 because the whole scenario's changed. And it turned out after the market closed, those data, fantastic profit release, and there's a 25% gap up in value. So it's going to be a jump up on that one. So yeah, it's the way it is, unfortunately. Okay. Ouch. Yeah. Yeah. I'll put it up for you to read. Yeah. It looks like it could be about 370, something like that, maybe higher. Opening. Nothing to do about it. Opening. So yeah. We shall see anyway. And the problem is you work out your position size, obviously according to where their sell is, but to say times of that you can get slippage. That's the only worry I have with CFDs. And that's why sometimes going to the weekend it can somebody be a worry, because something could happen over the weekend and it opens above your stop loss or whatever, and then you're going to take what's called slippage. Okay, I understand that. Okay. Because that's the biggest battle I have and most people have with the markets, is the fact that it is quite sophisticated, complex, and quite involved. And unfortunately, a large amount of people are going into some sort of simple area to make a quick buck. Unfortunately, it's not quite as simple as that, like most things. Okay. And it's usually what trips people up is basically lack of knowledge.
Roger.
Yeah.
Hi, sorry. I just got what I don't understand is that Fitch signals a possible USD dollar downgrade. What does that mean?
No, because it's threatening, because again, if they don't do something about this debt, they will be downgraded, like in South Africa. It means when they downgrade them, it means they'll have a less quality credit rating, which means interest rates go up. No more than that. They're saying when they want to borrow more money, they have to pay higher interest. I'm going to pick on you, Francis, you asked a question. Like, Farney's a hell of a nice guy, but he's economically not very knowledgeable. He spends more or whatever. And he's borrowing money and he's having to pay it back, etc. But now he needs to borrow some more money, right? Let's say, okay, but you're not a very good payer, Farney, so I'm going to lend you the money, but I'm going to demand some return, and that's going to be a higher interest rate. So now you're not only a bad spender and not good at looking after your finances. Now it's going to be more expensive to do it, because your debt repayment now, instead of being £1,000 a month, is now going to go to £1,200 a month. And when you can least afford 1,000, now the situation is getting worse. The same thing that happens with South Africa, because it's basically government after votes doing things that make them popular, but not responsible financially. And that's what's happened over here in spades, as you know, and that's what's happening over there. That's all that means. That means a downgrade means you can borrow money, mate, but you pay higher. But that, like I was telling you about the old microloan. I think it's going so much now, but several years ago, they had these 15% per month. I think I've told you about it in here, and I was quite shocked. I was somewhere in Rustenburg, and there was this shop there, and it said quite clearly 15% a month. These poor, unsophisticated people going there to borrow money, like things like 500 Rand and 800 Rand, things like that. Because they're short of a buck. Interest rates mean nothing to them. They're mathematically illiterate. You know what I'm saying? And I thought, hang on, I'm going there and get 500. I need it. So get it. That understanding what 15% a month is. Now, obviously, I'm not talking about 15% a month in America over here, but you can understand how those guys now that borrow 500-600, and in the end, they lose the lot. They lose the little RDP housings happen. A lot of people lost their RDP housing through a few hundred Rand debt. You see what I mean? It's just kind of not understanding basic interest rates and compounds and basic arithmetic, really. And it's pretty scary. And yeah, it just means that they've already got a lot of debt. The last thing they need is to get more interest, which increases that debt. And that's what happens. That's a classic example about Japan. Their debt to GDP is so high, they can't afford to increase interest rates to try and do something about inflation, because the debt is just getting towards unmanageable. To increase interest rate, it would be totally unmanageable. That's what happened to Eskom. They weren't able to pay the interest on the debt. So where does the interest go to capital? Because they're semi-gilt, which basically means they're backed by the government. That's why the government was obliged to help out all the time. That's the problem. It's total fiscal irresponsibility in order to catch votes on popularity to basically unsophisticated voters. To me, that's one of the major problems we have in democracy. It descended worldwide into a sales pitch of the most simple emotive areas. And then, you go and look at all these news programs, they're discussing things that are really quite puerile, trivial, trying to steer away from important stuff. I was just watching GB News this morning about interest, and they call it now seatbelt gate. You've heard of party gate, now seatbelt gate. They're saying that Rishi Sunak was caught driving that seatbelt on. Yeah, I don't want to use foul language, but me, you know what I mean? They got way overexpended in the UK. They've got a massive problem in that area, and they're making a fuss and dance about a guy who should have put his seatbelt on. And and they still made another fuss about Boris Johnson not totally obeying the COVID rules and having a party instead. This is so puerilely irrelevant, but it appeals to the person in the street because they don't know the complex situation or the matrix situation out there, and they play on that ignorance. That's where the problem is. That's what the problem with democracy is. They're completely being played and using their lack of knowledge on that basis. But touching little emotional buttons, if you like.
Okay, thank you. I understand that, but because I said the dollar is quite in demand, so the guys are now buying the dollar. The dollar is strengthened because of the possibility of that downgrade.
Yeah, that's basically it. Exactly.
Thanks, Uncle.
Yeah. As I said before, and I'm probably bore you with it, unfortunately, because of universal lack of financial understanding, we are being played by the mass media. Simple as that. But the person in the street's got to learn to think beyond the emotional sales pitch the mass media is throwing out. It's not even news anymore. It's purely an entertainment program. And if you watch any of them, it's mostly debating trivia. And there's a great thing where a racial slur was made to some rich person in the UK, when there's people sort of literally dying from cholera because they can't afford water. to buy water. You know what I mean? It's ridiculous. Hang on, I read that the code word for taking money or expecting a gift from some budget is cold drink. I think that's a new one. I've done that before. Okay. Yeah, so there it is. But I have to say, guys, I think it's going to drift around a little bit until we get some more economic news. This is always keep an eye on the buyers and sellers, which is technical support. It's all about the buyers and sellers. I get that, but it's now basically run by the bigger economic worries out there in this global debt situation. It's all about that at the moment. That's why I think Powell's backing off a bit now, is because the banks are doing the job for him. They're not lending like they did before. So they're constricted loans. So they don't have to put any more interest rates up, in my opinion. They're doing the job for them. They've got MPC coming out there in South Africa, and they're saying inflation's coming down. Of course, it'll come down. People can't afford to buy any, borrow money to buy stuff, and almost certain it's going to have another interest rate increase to that, probably 0.5%, which is going to add to the problems. I mean, it's like the savers. There's not many of them around, unfortunately. Most of them are debt guys, so they're going to have more to borrow than they can least afford it. It's been kicked down the road for the last several years, unfortunately, and everyone's passed on to the next administration. It's unfortunately finally coming up. You're thinking, you don't put your head out there in public and make you get into trouble. But I think most of us thinking, whatever anything that's said out there anymore, we don't really believe it anymore. That's the problem. The credibility is shot. That's the major problem. Because in news, when something comes out, I say, yeah. You know what I mean?
No, that's absolutely true. I mean, whatever I hear, whatever I read about South Africa, I just make it off as BS. It's as easy as that, because I can see with my eyes exactly which direction what is going. And I'm sorry to say that in the trading room, but if you don't look around you, then you have a problem.
Yeah, absolutely, completely. And you know, with all due respect, it's not just people like yourself who are educated people, even lesser educated people. Just because they haven't got the education, they're stupid. I always use Muhammad Ali as a good example. He wasn't highly educated, but he was extremely intelligent. Don't confuse the two. And they can see it's BS. In fact, one of the ladies in our office said that he doesn't want. They're sick of being used by politicians just to make the right statements and sound good without any substance behind it. And that's it. It's just, I mean, you hear them being interviewed. They're just mouthing platitudes, not backed up by any substance. You know.
Hey, mate.
Hi, Ken.
While you are on the USD, man, please help. I'm in these two trades and they're messing with my emotions. I took the cable on a sell and the Euro USD on a sell. They're both in profit, but I don't know. I'm feeling like they reached their maximum way downwards. Yeah, that looks like a double top. If you can have a look, I was hoping to take it to 1.055. You see, because I'm looking at the strength in the dollar, I was hoping that it is gonna hold above, the DXY will hold above 104, and then probably 105, and then go and test 106 for this week. But now I'm getting a bit wary.
Yeah, I'm a bit worried as well. I'll be honest, I'm not going to try and second guess what's going to happen over this week. But I think that the dollar strength days are numbered. Yeah, I think I'd be a bit nervous of buying the dollar at the moment. I think it's seriously overcooked. Fundamentals could change that completely. But now, if you're in a profit, start modifying your stock and protecting yourself. It's right in resistance as we speak now. And yeah, I'm not sure we're going to see 105. But then again, fundamentals could stick that right up and make me look a fool. But I'm thinking the dollar is going to come off at some stage. If not by the end of the month, certainly going into the new month. I'm a little bit more on the Keone side on that one. But I can't say take it and then it shoots on down. You're going to be happy with me. So I'm going to have to sit on the fence a little bit on that, taking it or not. But unofficially, I agree with you, Keone.
Okay, at least Kaone says I must take my profit and run.
Yeah. Okay. Keone says that, but I'm going to say at least modify your stop loss. I'm a little bit nervous, say get out of something, and then Murphy's Law kicks in and it shoots off in the right direction. You know what I mean? So I'm going to be a little bit sort of more circumspect on that and say at least modify and protect yourself. But yeah, okay. Who gets it? Naz is also, yeah, leave the Naz alone. As a sell, yeah, well, I think I'd rather be in a sell than a long, put it that way. You might come right, but I wouldn't go into it now. If you're in a sell, I think you should hold on to it. As long as you got your stop loss correctly put, you worked out, you know, you shouldn't be getting jip on the trade. You should have worked it out. If I lose it, that's fair enough, I can handle it. If you get into jip, you're either overexposed or you're risking money you can't afford. Those two are no-nos, absolute no-nos. I should be saying it's annoying, but that's it. If you can't afford to lose on it, you shouldn't be in the business. You know what I mean? As you say, you should have your strategy, your correct volumes, etc. And I'm inclined to downside on the NAS as well. So if you've done everything like I mentioned properly, hang on in there. It should come right, hopefully. Okay. Now, some of the government getting the money. Something like that. Was it? What was that comment there? Some government getting the money. Where is it now? If the interest rate includes the money. No, the lender. The lender. So I'm lending you money, Gerard, right? And no disrespect, Gerard, you're a nice guy, but you're not the best credit guy I've ever come across. So I'm prepared to lend you the money, but I'm going to, it's more risky to me to lend it to you. I'm going to have a more return to make up for it. So I'm going to increase interest rate to you. So if you do default, well, I'm not be happy about it. If you don't, at least I'll take the risk or I'll make more interest money out of you. So no, the government's borrowing, by the way. So in other words, the lender is going to, for taking the risk, will increase those interest rates. So they will get the money, not the government. The government's doing the borrowing.
Yes, true, but the government is also borrowing the money at a higher rate
okay, that's what you mean. Okay,
for
good.
the commercial banks. So
That's
yeah, at
correct.
the end of the day, it's a cycle, but their main thing is not to get money. They just want to contain spending, but that means that they're going to lose on that. So it's a vicious circle to my mind.
Actually, you're quite right, Farney. But Rick, one thing you said up there, which I must admit, to be honest, I forgot about. That's a good point as well, because as I say, you know, every time you make a sale, there's VAT included, some income from it. That will, of course, make less sales because interest rates are high, they can't afford it. So therefore, the VAT will be reduced. I've never thought of that way. Fun enough. Very good point there. I like it. Yes, that's also true. But yeah. Now, the Reserve Bank, if when they lend money out, sure, then of course it will come to their net. Now, there's basically it's the lender. But that's a very good point there. What do you thought that? Yeah, that's a good point there. Less VAT comes in. Mind you, they always put up VAT, you know. But that's another tightrope walk. If you increase the taxes too much, people won't buy the product. I'll give you a good example, because it's politically incorrect to smoke in the West. It's almost worse than being a parent in Sweden. You get more street cred by being I'm joking here, by being a serial rapist and a smoker, sort of. Obviously, I'm kidding, but you know what I mean. So they can always put the money up on cigarettes. the tax up on cigarettes because you get away with it politically without losing votes. The problem in practical is all you do is increase the smuggling. And now apparently it's 13 English pounds a packet. I spoke to someone about a month ago, just on holiday over here from the UK. I was asking, I believe it's about £9 a packet of fake cigarettes. I can't believe it. I said, no, it's now 13 pounds, English pounds, 260, 270 around where the exchange rate is per packet of cigarettes for one packet. So all that means is very few people buy them. They trot along to France, or they do, like they did in COVID. They don't stop the drug. I mean, that's what a drug's about. They can't stop cocaine, heroin, so cigarettes and booze. They just do it, they do bootleg stuff, piracy, and so they just buy the unofficial stuff. So it gets to a stage where if you overtax it, people won't buy the stuff anyway, so you don't get anything for it. But can you believe they 13 quid? Never say it's good or bad to smoke. The point is it's unbelievable. 260 odd grand packet of fags. Hey, can you believe it? You want to buy a carton of fags, 2,600 grand. Thanks very much. And the thing is as well, the penalties for smuggling cocaine or marijuana or whatever it is are far higher than smuggling cigarettes. But now it's become more profitable to smuggle cigarettes. That attracts obviously quite a good gangster setup as well. That's the problem. The administrative government are looking for power, and they play that emotion for that power. And most of those stuff they come out with sound emotionally okay, but often not very practical. And that's the problem. I haven't come across a better system of democracy. I'm not sure a communism or dictatorship would work, but that's the major limitation of democracy. You're dealing with one person, one vote. You're dealing in emotions rather than understanding and knowledge. I mean, we were asking about a year ago about political stuff in the office here on the Zoom, and talking about Shabab, what's his name? Shabab, I can't remember his name now, and his manifesto. A lot of the guys there didn't know what a manifesto meant. So unfortunately, when you're dealing specifically in this country, but worldwide, with extreme lack of knowledge, it means you're giving sort of carte blanche to do what you bloody like at government level. They just don't understand, Yeah, can you believe that? Didn't know what a manifesto was. You got to vote. You don't even know what you're voting for. And what was it, Vuzi, and that entrepreneur sort of speaker guy? He's saying it's because of ignorance of the masses. That's why they elect clowns. I said it, not me. Well, a little bit better than that, but more or less that. Let's see how trades are going anyway. Anything happening there? Let's have a look at them. CAD CHF. I haven't got the only one I like was the Dow, but that's ship and sell. So we'll leave that for the moment. CAD CHF, not much happening. Is it a shorter term trade? Short term, sorry. Coming up to the 15-minute. Trying to come right, okay. Dollar Swiss franc, talking about that dollar's hover around the 104. I think it's going to hold, we'll see. It's coming off a little bit, not much. It's coming off a little bit, but not much indecision, even the 15-minute, look at that. EDNZD and coming there. Trying to come off a bit, and that's fine. We took it late, should be okay. GBP CHF. Popped up a bit, but it was doing all right just now. Hey, it's popping around a tight range. Obviously, wait for the end of the month, I suppose. So not much else on that. Pretty quiet as we speak. Yeah. Yeah. Go back to the NAS, as I think, just hold on to it. The NAS is all over the place at the moment. Yeah. It's just like the market's directions. The traders are, the big boys out there are very directions at the moment. So yeah, but I think they're now. I'd rather be short than long. Put it that way. I'm not in it at all. I won't be in it. But I think I'd rather be short, but I'll be looking to maybe short it later on. Not today necessarily, but coming up. But I think it's possible there's some downside here. The only thing I can think of, if you did want to take it in these high levels, is a very wide stop on the micro. So yeah, you need a pretty wide stop on that. Certainly about 14,000, that's for sure. I do not know what's going to push that NAS back up to 14,500, 15,000. I'm not the economics out there. I can't see it. But anyway, who knows? So just keep
The
your
NAS
fingers
is the highest in the last year, if I recall correctly, if you go on the weekly.
Yep. That's just, yep, the last thing. Yeah, last time was these levels was way back in, it's over a year ago, April last year, right?
Yeah, last year this time. So anything
Yeah,
can happen.
anything can happen, but I'm leaning towards 14,000 is going to hold. Very, very aggressive to jump in on it, but yeah, I think 40,000 is going to hold here. If you've got enough money and you can afford a smaller position, that might be worth a very wide stop, seeing what happened to be on board. But yeah. But as I say, make sure when you're going for a trade, you're putting in money you can afford to lose. You shouldn't be going in and saying it's really damaging my account, etc. Then you're overexposed, etc. So you've got to have the right volumes and make sure it's money you can afford to lose. If you can't afford to lose it, you cannot trade.
Uncle, what's your take on oil at this point in time? WTI. I see it's in a range.
Yeah. More the same. I'm still in it, been in it for quite a while now. I can't remember that. For a while. Been on the top. When did I get in on that? I can't remember.
We had a situation, I think it was last week, that there was a signal called for a buy on it, and some
I think it was a sell. Wasn't it a sell?
yeah, sorry, it was a sell, yeah.
Yeah, was it now? Must have. I didn't agree with that, to be honest. But anyway, where the hell was it? I can't remember that. Yeah, I think it's more than a week ago. Anyway, it's last week. Was a sell on. I'm afraid I can't say I agree with that. But anyway, where it's going to drift from now, I don't know. Look at this up the way, see what's going on. Well, I'm protected anyway. I mean, if it comes back and stops me, I'll be in a profit, so I'm just going to let that run. But I can't call that either way at the moment. I think the best thing to do with this one is to leave it alone. If you're in a long and you're protected, let it run. If you're not in, leave it alone. It might even come off technically from here as well. I'm protected, it's okay, but it might technically come off a bit. But I cannot see the producers tolerating a $60-odd a barrel. They need the bucks, you know what I mean? But anyway, there it is. Leave it alone. Okay. 3rd of May. Okay, that was a while back then. But anyway, bottom line is leave it alone, whatever. Thanks, Pete. AUD-CAD. Well, I was going to say before I looked to be a short, but let's back that up. Just get the step out of the way. Yeah. What can I say? Do I want to join it now? Probably not. So look, I'm not sure I'll be jumping in now. No. Anyone want to do anything with this one? I'm going to sit on the sidelines for this one. Anyone want to do anything? Anyone want to? Ibrahim's looking at an AUD-CAD. I haven't mentioned any. Just said AUD-CAD. Don't know what you want to do with it, but anyone see a potential trade on this one? I would definitely leave it alone, yeah. Anyone, what do you want to do with it, Ibrahim? Anyway, you haven't said, do you want to buy it? You want to sell it? What do you want to do with it?
I was thinking if it breaks further below the 887, then it's likely to go even further down.
Yeah, well, the trend is definitely down. The momentum's down. Seems to come to a little bit of standstill. There's a little bit of support there. Yeah, not a lot, a little bit. Might further break down. Would you want to take that risk there? Does anyone want to? Let's have how far has it moved down the last week? 116 pips. It's not enormous. These lows, these highs are lower highs. You can see. I get that. I'm a bit wary on setting it now. But yeah, I take your point. I thought you meant a sell. I was a bit surprised said otherwise, but I just want to clarify that, Ibrahim. Good enough. Well, clearly on the sell zone, but do you want to join it here? What do you guys think? I'm an LIA guy, but what do you guys think? Do you see some here? Could even be a buyer. I mean, it might have a buy and oversold bounce, yeah. I've made where I'm going on it clear, but what do you guys think? Do you think it's worth having a look at? Do you want to support the gentleman? Yeah. Anyone opinions on it? Any opinion on this one? For a buy or a sell or anything? Yeah, sell's correct. I'd rather sell the rally. Yeah, sell the rally. If you test a 10, I'd be much more likely to be interested in a sell, but not at the moment.
Can we look at the EJ strategy on this one?
Only 3 pips away. EJ is a sell, yeah. If you like the EJS one, yeah. Anyone want to do an EJS on it?
I would love to. I just have, again, margin concerns. Damn.
Okay, right. Well, the EJS one, if you want to do it, quite straightforward. You go in at market, work it out at 90 rand a micro. You don't need to do size calculator, 90 rand a micro, and you put a 50 pip stop. If you want to put a trading stop in, you can, or just maneuver the stop down as it comes off, if it comes off. After maybe 20, 30 pips in profit, you can reduce your stop to 30 pips. And if it goes down further, maybe 25 pips, and just run it down till you're stopped out. You don't need a TP, just run it down. It's purely momentum trade. Okay, so you got that. So if you want to do it, Ibrahim, what you do is you go in and you work out your volumes at 90 rand. What are you prepared to lose? It'd be 90 rand per micro. You understand? That step. And then you put a sell in, and then you can put either trading stop or a 50 pip stop, and just adjust your stop loss, no TP, until you're eventually stopped out on the momentum. And it's got to stay below that 10-day moving average. If it goes back above it, then you're going to start thinking maybe get out of it, even if it hasn't hit your stop. There you are. That's the EJ1. We evolved this in the trading room here, and that's one you can look at. Okay, it's different. It's purely from the trading room, that idea. Okay, so you got all that. Okay. Okay. I just want to make sure you've all got an economic calendar. If you haven't got it, please tell me and I'll copy and paste on the chat line for you. Okay, all got it. Good stuff. All right. EuroCAD. Prolong. Where's the 200? Personally, I think I'd like to have a confirmation breakout of the 100-day before I buy it, but I think it's a good possibility, yeah. But I don't think there's enough confirmation there. Look at the last few candles there. Give me a confidence it's going to break out that range. What is that range anyway? It's about 100 pip range, bigger than I thought actually. Okay, it's about 100 pip range, not too bad. It's halfway in that range at the moment. Yeah, if it took this out, I'd probably be more keen. I think I'd probably wait for more confirmation. The break of the range. Either way, it breaks down, I might look at Senate. But I think the likelihood it might break the range outside, but I don't know that till it's confirmed. Otherwise, I hear you. Any comments? That's just my opinion. Hope it's a value, but it's still an opinion, remember?
Oh, the euro is giving me the chips. Sorry.
Yeah, it's given me the jips the last couple of weeks. Well, be off last week, the week before that. Yeah, the euro's just yeah. I wouldn't be too keen doing either.
And the fundis that came out this morning on the German was also negative.
Yeah. Yes, a 2-star. Where is it? That's a 2-star euro there. Where are we at? 8 o'clock. GDP, that's right, came out 0.3. GDP was down, that's correct. The dollar is coming out GDP as well, don't forget 2:30. And don't forget the weekly jobless page as well. So some stuff coming out. And don't forget interest rate decision in South Africa is coming out at 3 o'clock. Expecting actually expecting 0.25%, beg your pardon. I think it might be 0.5%. Okay, anything else to add, guys? You've all got your economic calendar. You've all got the DXY. I think you've all got my number. You should have. If not, I can just post it quick in the chat line. Just need to let me know, of course. No, not much happening. See hovering anyway. A couple of funders might change the situation later on. Yeah, just hovering around. Let them run. I haven't got any more ideas. My sleep on this one. I'm just going to sit and wait. Okay. Any questions, guys? Anything else you want to discuss? Are you all good? Yeah, I will be quiet going forward to get the macroeconomic releases coming out. Absolutely. Plus, as well, the R+2 thing is the GDP would have some importance as well. So, yeah, thanks, Henry. So it's going to be pretty quiet. Yeah. I still think the trades are okay, so just let them run. You all know how to save your charts now. You all my numbers and everything else. You haven't said anything, so you've got all that under control. Don't cry afterwards if you haven't been asked. You kept them posted. All good this side, fine, good.
Roger,
Yeah.
Petriarchy. Just quickly, I see now why you say there could be a possible upside on the gold. If you just quickly switch back to the chart, because what I've seen there, it's broken through that resistance a few times, but then it just drops all the way back down. If you go to, well, let me just see what, I think it was the weekly chart, I think. Just do that. Yes, on the weekly chart.
Okay, go on.
All right. If we look back around in the 2020, okay, September 2020, that was when it broke through that resistance. And when it dropped all the way back down, and then again in 2022, it did the same thing. And now we're back at that resistance again. So I see why you say it could be possibly break outwards. So I was thinking it might go down. So I don't know, but look, nobody knows. You understand what I'm saying?
Well, we never know. That's why we have a trading buyers and sellers. But
Yeah.
I actually think from a range trade, there's some upside possibilities there. And I think gold will hold. I think with the worries out there, people will turn to gold more and more. And if I would say be on the long side. Do I see a trade at the moment? Someone's got some money, wants a short-term range trade, maybe put the stop here. About $15 away, get it work. Is it worth your while? Take it here. You might, if you take it up to maybe $23.15, if that works out, enough risk reward or whatever, it could take it. But I see a range trade at the moment till we get a breakout, which I think first will be to the upside. Yeah. But otherwise, it's an aggressive trade. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So I really wanted to say. Okay.
Okay, guys. Are we all good? Catch you tomorrow then. Are we all good?
Good.
Okay, thanks guys for your support. I know it's a bit sort of sideways at the moment, but we'll get news out and then we'll get it happens before that, and again, why not? Okay, guys, thanks very much. And yeah, brilliant. I'll catch you tomorrow. Cheers. Cheers, guys.